Yo, it's Go, and welcome to the video. This one is about Phase 4, how Balanced Druid is looking on all the bosses in ICC. And as you can tell right here, with the overall, all bosses chart, it's not looking good. We are the bottom DPS, just above the PvP spec. So BM Hunter, Arcane Mage, Arms Warrior, all these are like the PvP specs. And we're sitting just above that bottom line. So that's overall. Let's check out boss by boss and see if we're actually doing good on any of them. Starting with Marrowgar, we've got Unholy Death Knight just destroying the damage on this fight. And then we are pretty much at the bottom. We moved up above Ellie Shaman. So Bumi and Ellie Shaman pretty close together there overall. Not looking good on Marrowgar. I don't think this fight has anything really Balanced Druid related wise that would make us sit down this low on the chart, other than maybe Balanced Druid overall is being asked to be at range and having to dodge the frost paths coming from the boss. Personally, I'm able to stand up in the melee group, so I don't really have to dodge those as much. That really helps me out and probably helps me even out this chart so that we're not below the Ellie Shaman. DPS wise, we're 1600 DPS below DK. That's topping the meter, so yikes. On to Deathwhisper. There's lots of ads, but we're having to clone, we're having to CC, we're having to root if you're doing the weekly quest. So loads of CC stuff that we have to take care of. So we're even below some of the PvP specs on this one. Survival Hunter, on the other hand, is just popping off. It's probably really easy for them to hit the ads coming from both sides in Phase 2. But yeah, for this one, unless you're just completely ignoring helping your raid out in this encounter and just focusing on doing DPS, then we're having to do lots of crowd control on this fight. Makes sense that we're down there kind of low, but still hurts really bad to see. Gunship battle, we are popping off. We've got one of our good fights here. Look at us, we're top 5, having loads of fun on that ship over there, even though every time you go from ship to ship, it takes you out of moon conform for some reason. I hate that. Bears can just hop back and forth, no problem. Why can't Alkans fly across the map? Come on. Funny to see that a fight that doesn't really matter is the one that we're popping off on. Everybody else is taking a break, stretching their fingers out from topping the charts of the first couple bosses. And yeah, they're slacking, so we get to pick up that slack. Saurfang, we're not too far at the bottom. We're, beating a couple specs. Shadow Priest, pretty low. Demo, Destrolock down below us. But this is another one where we kind of do have an assignment to knock back the ads, which Typhoon doesn't count too much damage-wise, so it's like a GCD that we have to use as support again. Oh, a support class doing support stuff? Who would have guessed? Just having to Typhoon every 40 seconds. It could be in the middle of our lunar, it could be in the middle of our cooldowns, and takes away a little bit of our DPS there. But Starfall hitting the ads is a nice little boost to our damage. But maybe all Balanced Druids aren't really holding their Starfall for those ads. Maybe they think that Starfall isn't doing max damage to them, but it is, so make sure to hold your Starfalls for every other Blood Beast pack. If you have 2 Druids, coordinate with the other Balanced Druid, say, hey, I got the first set, you get the second, and alternate throughout the fight. So every Blood Beast spec has a Starfall popping off on those ads, hopefully pulling aggro to you and the other Boomy. Come to think of it, maybe some Druids have Glyph of Focus and they're too far away from those ads, so they might be popping Starfall, but it might not be hitting those ads, so check to make sure your glyphs are set up for your position on this fight. Festergut, lo and behold, we're down there again. Ellie Shaman and Shadow Priest are doing a little bit worse than us, but Unholy DK popping off on this one too. You're going to see Unholy DK at the top of these fights quite often. And even Blood DPS doing really good. This fight though, there's no ads really for Starfall to help us out and give us a little bit of boost from our cleave spell. We do have to move a little bit, so if you're positioned away a couple GCDs from your stack point for your spores, that could be lowering your DPS. I am trying to be in position, so I only have to insect swarm when the spore comes out to move in position to the spore spot, and then after the spore explodes, I just pop like a Moonfire or Typhoon or something to get back into my little spot. If you're having to run too far and you're not having good uptime, you're not always casting, that could be why Boomies aren't, a little bit higher, even above Blood DKs. Come on. Rotface could be heavily movement oriented if you're getting the little ooze debuff and you have to run and drop off your little ooze. There's also other things during this fight that we have to avoid. meaning lots of downtime. Starfall could be hitting those little oozes and not the boss, and our damage from the oozes doesn't count on logs. So this one, Starfall could really be getting like lost in our log DPS. Really unfortunate, but that could be the explanation of why we are yet again down pretty low on the meters. Puticide, not many logs of heroic, which is what we're looking at, have downed this, but the adds on this fight do count. So if we're pumping into those green and orange oozes with our Starfall, it's going to help us out. So we are boosted up a little bit. I think we could end up getting up a little bit higher if the fights get cleaner. This one, I'm sure balanced druids are being asked to B-res and possibly innervate healers, as with many other fights. But this one specifically, because it's one of the harder ones to proc, for now, I'm okay with where we're at. But I think we could go up a little bit further. Blood Council, this one's like a heavy DPS check in my eyes to try to avoid some of the mechanics. So if you're only having to swap the boss like 2, maybe 3 times max, and you don't really have to keep moving, then that's going to help us out. Starfall doesn't hit the nucleus, which is really nice. Yeah, we're like right in the middle of the pack on this one, which is cool. This is where I think we maybe should be. Maybe I hope we're higher than this at some points, but yeah, this fight, very widespread. I think there's a lot of different strategies on this boss fight. This could be a positioning one as well if you're away from your stack point for the transition after the first phase, when the first boss transfers the health to the whatever the second boss ends up being. I am positioned pretty far away from that point, so I have to run pretty far across the map. Could just use my rocket boots for that, but you kind of want to have your boots in case you get the orb targeted on you and you have to run away from the raid. I guess at that point you could just switch to cat form and dash away. So if you don't have that, then you've used your rocket boots to get in position really quick. And yeah, hopefully this fight gets really fast for you and you don't have to keep running back away out of your position. Loads of other mechanics too that could cause you to have to move around. But overall, we're not doing too bad on this fight. Blood Queen. This is the one where, you get bit. You have to bite other people if you get bit early into the fight. You have to run away with the little stuff that you're dropping on the ground like Jiraxxus and TOGC. Or you have to like get together, kind of like the opposite of that boss in Black Temple, where you had to, like Mother Shaz, you had to spread away. This time you have to join together 3 people. I've been lucky, knock on wood, that I haven't had to do those mechanics that much. This fight, like, one of the things with most fights in ICC is there's so many RNG mechanics that it makes it hard to parse. But for this one, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be that hard to try to like pump. I also don't want to get bit. I don't have the weak aura. It's too stressful. Everybody's yelling that they want to get bit first. I don't really think it matters that much, like who's getting bit, who's not getting bit. And it's really funny to see hunters up top of this fight because you don't want to bite the hunters. They're a pet class, and yet they are pumping. But maybe that's why they're pumping, because your damage gets normalized. You have to move when you're bit to bite other people. You have to find them on the map, run away. If it's a melee, go into range go into melee. So the hunters, I kind of want to be like the hunters. I want to be sitting back chilling. If I get bit last and I get to pump and have a little bit of fun at the end of the fight, cool. I don't have to move and bite anybody else. That's perfect for me. So yeah, I like to consider myself a hunter. Call me a pet class for this fight. I won't take it as an insult. Valithria, look at us, top 3? What? The other fight in ICC that doesn't really matter, kind of like Gunship, and here we are popping off. We've got Starfall that's going to help take care of the little, starts with an S, not summoners, suckers. Yeah, this like 5 or 6 suckers that come in and suck the boss. Those guys, yeah, we can Starfall those things. We can AoE the little worms with Hurricane. So this one's been kind of mana intensive for me because of all that little bit of AoE, but we get to pump on all the ads while everybody else is chilling, like taking their break from doing all their higher DPS than us on the other fights. Sindragosa, we are not looking good at all. Almost at the very bottom. Only 2 warrior specs and blood DKs are below us. Maybe it's because unstable magic hurts us more than it does other classes. I don't know. I don't know why it is that we're down there that low. If you have an idea, let me know, because it is a lot of movement, I guess. I've been seeing groups standing on the platform instead of the stairs, and our raid stands on the stairs, so we're out of range of the boss. But maybe that's something to it. Like if we, during the transition phase to where the people are getting frozen, if we're stood on the platform far into the room, and we can still DPS the boss, maybe that would help us go up a little bit higher above some of these lower melee specs. Damage to the ice stuff doesn't count towards logs, so maybe people are typhooning or like holding their starfall to help break people out of their ice tombs, which is good for the raid, good for prog, not good for looking at a page like this. And sure, we're going to have to be innervating, B-resing on this fight, so we're having to use even more support for this. Urge, you can even cyclone the ice tomb, so if like an ice tomb is getting really low and there's still the ice things coming down, you could clone that, I guess. Maybe it'll still save it. I don't know that one for sure. Thought I'd throw it out there just in case. So if you're like down to your last ice tomb and there's another ice shard coming down, you could clone the frost tomb and save the day, maybe. Yeah, not too many people have downed this one, kind of like Puticide, so hopefully after prog we don't have to B-res as much anymore. Overall, we can slowly start to move up on this fight. Or maybe once we get like Languish and some of our damage from our 4-piece tier 10 is still going to tick away after we have to move during all these transition phases, hide behind stuff and have our stacks drop. Maybe that'll help us a little bit. So tier 10 4-piece, we'll check back on this fight and see how it's looking. And the Lich King, our worst represented class. Almost dead bottom. Blood DKs, thank you for being included in the DPS specs now. And yeah, not too many parses overall for Heroic Lich King. So maybe for this fight, we can take a look at normal as well and see. But I feel like we shouldn't be dead last on this one. Yeah, we're going to have to B-res, we're going to have to innervate healers. We could pad a little bit, but at least on details we could pad in phase 1 with all the little adds there. But I feel like there's tons of movement on this one, so maybe that's why we're just sitting down there at the bottom. I can't say too much about, B-res and innervates when, feral druids are at the top and they are also probably being asked to do this stuff. I know it's my go-to excuse, but I can't fall back on that too much right now because, yeah, feral druids are just popping off. All right, so normal looks a little bit better. We're up there kind of like where we are in most of the other fights and on average overall. Hopefully on heroic at some point we start to slowly creep up even a little bit higher than that, up to like the midway point would be nice. And just to check really quick, yeah, at the end of the video here, thanks for watching. Switch it down to normal. And yeah, I think we just dropped like another spot or two on normal. So yikes. I'll be trying to get some more helpful videos out on boss strategies as soon as I can. It's hard though when I'm raiding almost every single night. A lot of nights I'm streaming on Kick. So, check out kick.com/classicgo. I also stream, the main raids on YouTube here. So it's a bit of a mix on both channels for streaming. So if you want to stop by, you have any questions, hit me up on Kick as well, and have a good one. And let's get these rankings up a little bit, guys. Come on.